What's going on, you guys? Zach here from PremiumBeat.com. Super happy to have you here today. I'm going to be talking about my favorite transitions and ones that you should start using. Now, some of them possibly you haven't heard of or you're not really utilizing too often, and other ones are cool ones that you can start using. Now, the majority of the transitions that I'm going to be talking about, you don't really need crazy big plugins for, maybe a little bit of additional footage, but a lot of this is what you can achieve in just Premiere Pro with the footage that you already have. Let's start talking about these transitions and how they can beef up your footage. Okay, so the first transition I'm gonna talk about is the flicker transition or the strobe. Now, this works really well in like music videos. It also is really cool to like disorientate your audience. It kind of resembles like if your eyes are flickering really fast. So essentially what I did was I went into my edit and then between my two clips that I have, so I went up 2 frames, splice, up 2 frames, splice, up 2 frames, splice, and I did that over and over again. So when you play it out, you get this. It adds a pretty cool disjointedness and adds a bit of flavor to your scene. The next one I'm gonna talk about is film burns or light leaks, and overall just like overlays that you can implement onto your footage. So these are done quite a bit, so I won't touch on them too much, but it's really cool because overlays and doing different blend modes to transition yourself into new scenes is a really cool way to beef up the scene and add a bit of stylized vibe. So I've got these 2 shots here, and what I'm gonna utilize is one of the light leaks downloads that I got from Shutterstock. I'm gonna stick that over top of the footage, change the blend mode over to screen, and now that I have that implemented into the shot, if I press play, it kind of blends them together a little bit better. Maybe I'll put a bit of a fade between the overlay. This also works really well for if you have maybe a shot of like a light or an interesting like flare happening on screen. So I've got this cool shot of the light, and then I've got like the snow flickering in front. So what I'm gonna do is do the exact same thing and treat this shot as if it's like a light leak. And then I'm gonna put it over top of my shot, change the blend mode over to, let's say, multiply or screen, fade that in, maybe scale it up a little bit so the light is really prominent. And now if we do this, we get like an interesting kind of flash of white stylized look. And so one thing I want to touch on in this video is that you don't need these crazy transitions or ones that have been done a lot in order to create a seamless flow into your scene. Basically, just experiment and play around. For me, I love trying around different blend modes. Utilizing like a flash of white or utilizing some sort of other shot as a transition piece is really fun. Which leads me into my next transition, which is the whip pan. Now, this is something that's used quite a bit, but I love it. And I actually discovered it by just an error. We were shooting like a music video and the camera just broke while we were filming, and it did this like interesting whip. And I'm like, well, what happens if I use that in my footage as a transition piece? Anyway, so with the whip pan, what I'll do is actually when I'm filming on the day, I'll just go out and get some footage of me like zigzagging the camera back and forth, and then I have footage of that available. I even on my computer, I have just like stock footage of that of just wherever I've shot. Maybe it's like daytime outside or in a forest or nighttime in the streets. I'll have just a bunch of shots available of the whip pans, and then what I'll do is I'll find a good spot of it kind of like zigzagging or going in one direction, and I'll get like 1 second of that or 24 frames of it, put it in between my 2 shots. Boom. Now you've bridged the gap with this cool whip, and where it works really well is to build the energy of a scene or to jump between 2 different locations. Comedy does this a lot where it's like, let's see what Bill's doing. Then it like whip pans over to him, or like any sort of like action movie, you can use these really well. And let's put the 2 together. Let's do a blend mode like multiply whip pan just to put the 2 transitions together. Pretty cool, right? And that's just a total experimentation. I said it and then I'm like, let's see what would happen. I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, the next transition is using physical movement and parallel imagery to create a transition. So for instance, cutting between like people's faces or like symmetry works really well. If you ever watched the movie like Mad Max Fury Road, they utilize a lot of symmetrical imagery so that they can cut really fast between the shots. So if I'm cutting between people talking, I would do like, and I'm doing it really quickly, I would do like their head really straight into frame and like super symmetrical, and then cut between that a bunch of times. And it's much easier for the audience to interpret these edits because nothing's zigzagging in the frame and they're keeping their eyes dead center. Works really well. You can do this with like lights flickering or like things dead center in the frame or off to the right. If you watch anything like Mr. Robot, since everything is like off to the side of the frame, either it creates a sense of disjointedness for the audience because their eyes have to bounce around, or it'll continuously stay in one side of the frame. I highly recommend taking a look at that while you're watching the show. My final transition that I want to show you guys is the time ramp one. Now, this one's probably one of the most popular ones that a lot of people are utilizing now. And so what it is it's blending together two different speeds to merge a shot together with another one. So what I have here is like these people walking in slow motion on the path, and then we cut to these lights. Now, what I'm going to do with my first shot is I'm going to scale in and go to about the ending, so maybe the last second of it, and I'm going to change the speed from 40% and change that down to actually 200%. We want to press ripple edit and then press OK. And what that's going to do is it's going to speed up the ending of this shot. So if we watch it back, and it doesn't feel like that's going long enough, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to stretch it out a couple frames. So just by dragging over my shot B and stretching out shot A a little bit longer. So let's watch it. But then shot B just kind of starts abruptly. So how to blend these together really nicely is let's just kind of go forward a couple frames here. And at the beginning of shot B, we're going to change it from 40% back up to 200%. Essentially what you're doing is you're blending together the two speeds so that this transition works really smoothly. So let's watch it back. Works pretty cool. And so what you can do to make this effect even smoother is by adding, let's say, like a whip pan to blend the two shots together. So what I can do is just put this shot over top. So I've got a shot of like the bus flying by here really quickly. And then what I'm going to do is actually just change the blend mode over to screen. And then if we see this here, let's play it back. Looks pretty dope. So those are my favorite transitions. If you have any ones that you'd like to suggest or recommend, write that in the comment section below. I'd love to see your favorite transitions that you utilize. These are the ones that I use quite often. They're very effective and super simple to start putting into your project. You can do them in a couple seconds. If you guys like this video that much and want to take a look at more, I highly recommend taking a look at the PremiumBeat YouTube page. There's some really great content on there from some incredible creators. Hit that subscribe button, like this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video. So write that in the comment section below. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.